Hey BookTube, to say it's been a while is once again an underestimation. I'm really sorry. There's two very good reasons, and the first reason I will tell you now. The second one is going to have to wait till the end of the video because I'm not quite sure I can get through it without having a good cry. So, let's do the easy one first. So the easy one is that I teach 160 children a day. Basically, I think we can say quite happily and without concern of misinterpretation or error that I qualify as being exhausted. And that has created two problems. One is that I actually just don't have the energy to make a video at the moment because I am exhausted. And the second reason is that I get into bed with my book that I'm so looking forward to reading, and I read 2 pages and I fall asleep. And I'm not really getting through a lot of material right now because reading 2 pages a day is ridiculously slow. I have not done this. I've never done this before. I've always read at a really healthy pace, and I just how do you talk about a book that you took 2 pages a day to get through? I mean, one of the books I could talk to you about today would be Munich by Robert Harris. But as a spy thriller, it failed. But was it the book that failed, or was it me that failed? Because it could really have been me. I mean, nothing is thrilling when you read it to 2 pages a day. So I have not really been up for making videos simply because what the hell am I going to say? Well, this book could have been interesting. Alas, I fell asleep throughout it. So it could have been boring, but Anyway, so I do have a few books I'm going to talk about today just because I need to get back into the swing of things, because I need to make an actual point on doing stuff that is fun. Except right now it feels like a chore, but we're going to ignore that. I need to do something for me and not just work, because it's ridiculous. I work until midnight every bloody day of my life, and it's not on, 160 kids a day. I'm exhausted. Let's just go with that one. Okay, so the first book I'd like to talk about is Stone Mattress by Margaret Atwood. And this one I was reading months ago. It was still for that readathon with female authors that was hosted by, it's been so long I can't even remember her name. Anyway, so this is a collection of short stories by Margaret Atwood, and what made this interesting was a couple of things. So the first 3 short stories in this book initially appear as though they are unconnected. So the very first one is about a woman who is writing stories, and she remembers her horrible relationship with her first boyfriend and how he took advantage of her, etc. And then she met a really nice guy, and he had passed away, and you have this horrible storm that's coming, and how the memory of him is what keeps her going. Feminist issues, but one can understand having that crutch in life. And so then the next short story initially seems like it's separate, but it picks up with the bad boyfriend and his life. And then the next story picked up from the girl who interviewed him, and so on. So that I thought was going to be the trend throughout. It's not. But I really actually enjoyed this. The story that was the most disappointing is actually the short story based on one of her most popular works, which is, I can't remember right now, and that's fine because I read this a long time ago, and as I'm getting back into it, we're not going. But it's one of her more popular works which I've not read. So it's not A Handmaid's Tale, it's not The Blind Assassin, it's not the Mad Adams trilogy, it's not Penelope Ad, it's another one. But anyway, it's got Roz in it, and I thought that was interesting because it was Roz and Charis and somebody else, and I had a friend called Charis, and I'm Roz, and so that was actually the least interesting, and I think it might simply be because I didn't appreciate the characters because I don't know who they are. And then the last story in this short story collection actually is my favorite. It is chilling, it is horrifying, and it was pretty brilliant because it was set in an old age home, and you have these people who are wanting to get rid of the redundant and the youngsters. And yeah, how do you defend yourself when you're an old person, you can barely see, or your arthritis is that bad? And, you know, it was very well done, and I really enjoyed that. And I believe that they have made a short film of it somewhere. So I would really recommend this, if nothing else, but for that and the first three stories. The middle stories were not bad either, but as a short story collection goes, you know, they're your favorites and they're your not so favorites. And yeah, but overall I wasn't disappointed. The next one, unfortunately, took the brunt of, I'm reading this at 2 pages a day pace, and this is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin, and I'd been looking forward to reading this book for a long time. It was supposed to be one of my university set work books back in my first year, so we're going back to 1996 there, and I should have read it, but back in those days this was over $300 because of the edition that they wanted us to get, and there was no chance in God's bloody green earth that I was going to afford that. So I just listened while in the lectures and winged it. Winging is a new verb, just FYI. And I was really expecting to be blown away from this, from everything that I had heard. And I must admit, I found it a bit tedious in places. That could have been the 2 days, well, 2 pages a day pace, however. But the descriptions on the environment, etc., and on the sexuality, and I understand that that was a huge big, I mean, that is the part that makes this novel memorable, is that you're dealing with a race of people who have no gender. They are gender neutral, and then depending, once they have mated, well, found a mate, I should say, then they become, well, they acquire a gender, so you would have the one as a male and one as a female, and, you know, you could be a male this time and a female the next time, and as a result, you don't have the gender discrepancies that we do, or stereotyping, etc., which was really interesting, that part, yes, I will give it. But the descriptions of the world and all the snow and the different types of snow, and I felt it was a bit like a Wikipedia entry, but just mean of me, but it could be the 2 pages a day story. I will definitely give you that. It could have been 2 pages a day. So, yeah, I would like to reread this book when I'm feeling energized and up for it, and we'll see what happens. The next book that I'm going to talk about is an easy read, and I got through this one as well because when I was falling asleep and whatnot, I decided, you know what, bugger this, I'm going to audiobook it. I am confessing to having abused audiobooks to get through a book in a weekend so that I could actually have a book that I could enjoy, because I really, really needed a book to enjoy. And this one is The Sentence is Death by Anthony Horowitz. And this is the second book in Anthony Horowitz's, what is this guy's name? Hold that thought. Daniel Hawthorne. There we go. Wow, this is what happens when it takes you so long to read a book. Anyway, so this was the second book in Anthony Horowitz's Daniel Hawthorne series. And actually, to be totally honest, the reason why Daniel Hawthorne is not the name that comes to mind the most is that this is the series where Anthony Horowitz inserts himself into the story. And this is not usually something that I would enjoy. I would usually go, you know, why do you think you're so special? Why would I want to read about you? But Anthony Horowitz is a bit different because I have followed him for decades. Well, at least over a decade. So quite some time. And as a result, I actually know a lot about the behind the scenes. So I find it interesting. And then what also I really enjoy with the series is that he has created Daniel Hawthorne. I mean, let's look at this. So we have Anthony Horowitz, the writer, who has created a series where you have Anthony Horowitz, the character, and Daniel Hawthorne. Now, Anthony Horowitz, the character, is also a writer, and he's doing pretty much the same thing as Anthony Horowitz, the author. But he has now met up with this unlikable guy, old Hawthorne. And Hawthorne is unlikable for many reasons. He's a bit homophobic, he's a little racist, possibly. He is very Sherlock Holmesy, which I think is actually what makes this work, in my opinion, as well, because Sherlock Holmes in his day possibly would have been as unlikable as dear old Hawthorne was in today's day and age. Who knows? But you get to meet him through Anthony Horowitz, the character, not the author. but you do have the character sitting debating all the points about why it is such a bad idea to have Hawthorne as a main character, because now he's writing the story just like Watson wrote on Holmes. So you have Horowitz writing on, what did I say his name was again? Hawthorne. Oh, I need to sleep, man. Anyway, so you have him sitting dealing with, how do I go about trying to make him likable? Nobody's going to want to buy these books with him because of these reasons, and they're valid reasons, because it's true. I would not want to support a series where you have an unlikable character, but, well, not an unlikable character, but one where he is actually offensive according to, what is politically correct today. So, having a guy who is homophobic is not going to be appealing, just as having a guy who is racist is not going to be appealing, particularly when you're dealing with a crime novel and not an exploration into those themes where we're dealing with character growth or we're actually exploring those themes. So you have Anthony Horowitz looking at those topics and exploring as to how, or questioning how he's going to make this guy work. And of course he makes the guy work because he is not the main guy. The main guy is actually Anthony Horowitz. And although I think that might put some people off, I actually enjoy it, as I said, because I followed him so much behind the scenes that there are parts that I go, oh, I wonder how you're doing this legally. It's like with the first book, he really did write the Tintin screenplay. So he really did meet up with people like Spielberg and whatnot. And it's like, so obviously Hawthorne didn't rock up, so how are you doing this? Unless Hawthorne did. I suppose there's that way to look at it as well. Maybe this is all non-fiction. Moving on. So this is as far as I'm going to go with books that I have read. I have read a lot more since, it sounds like a lot more. It's not really a lot more. It's just that I haven't been around for a long time. So technically there are more books that I could talk about, but as I need to have a YouTube channel, and I will try and put some more videos up more regularly. Just, matric finals have started. The final exams for the year are going to be starting. I've got exam papers to set, blah blah. You don't need to hear the whole breakdown, but basically it boils down. I'm going to be busy, and then I'm going to be marking matric, which is going to be nice financially. It's going to be shit for my time, because that's going to be a lot of time sitting marking over 12 hours a day. But anyway, so I would like to leave a few books that if you haven't spoken about, so I can have something to talk about in the future. But I thought I'd give you a chat about what I'm currently reading. Don't expect to hear about these books in a while, because 2 pages a day. So this is my book on the go. This is How to Be a Heroine by Samantha Ellis, and I'm quite far in on this one actually. I'm 100 pages in. Who would have thought? And this one I'm actually quite enjoying. It's a look at your literary classics. So from Wuthering Heights through to Jane Eyre to Anne of Green Gables. Who else sticks out? Jo March. And she looks at how they have affected her growing up, and what the requirements are to be a heroine, and for what reasons. And I'm actually really enjoying this. It's one of those few books out there where you go, well, actually I'm pretty well read. I've read most of these, so that's cool. And yeah, her style is very conversational as well, so it makes it fun to read. It's not just out there. And she also gives a lot of information about her family's origin. So she was Jewish from Iraq, and that was very interesting because of the history involving her family, her mom and her father's family, because they left Iraq at different times and the different historical situations at that point. So that was interesting as well. And she's taking her family heritage and her culture as an Iraqi Jew who's now British, growing up in London, and trying to figure out where she fits in, and I'm really enjoying that. Then I don't really care about that much book is Maeve Binchy's Tyra Road. I am about a quarter of a way through this, and I am just basically reading this one because it gets it off my TBR pile. It's been there for a while, and it's romance. It kind of goes against the grain, but it's set in Ireland, so that's interesting. But it's romance. But anyway, moving on. And then this book, I'm so sorry that I picked up. I picked it up at the end of the holidays, where I actually was starting to make a bit of progress through reading, and then, well, you're going to find out about hell going through a handbasket in a moment. So yeah, I picked up the Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, and I was so looking forward to this book because I've heard so many wonderful things about it for the last 2 years, and I was really looking forward to reading it. And then, yeah, shit hit the fan, and I got splattered, and everything got splattered. In fact, everything did get splattered, and yeah. So I'm making very, very slow progress through this, and I'm scared that this is going to be another version of Left Hand of Darkness, where I can go, well, I can appreciate some things, but honestly I find it a snooze fest, and it's got nothing to do with the book being boring. It's the fact that I'm just so tired. I mean, I read at night where I'm actually developing this crease across my forehead because I'm like hoisting my eyebrows into my hairline so I can try and keep my eyes open for an extra half page. But anyway, so the other reason, I need to go through this because, well, I suppose, you know, we're not just, you know, people that we watch. We kind of develop friendships. I know that I considered my best friends to be YouTubers long before I started a YouTube channel, and then I realized that the scary thing was that I'd never even spoken to my best friend in real life. But anyway, so, take a breath. So you know that I had a kitty cat. Okay, let's just put this out. So my kitty cat got really sick, and it started off with biliary. Now you got to keep in mind that he was going to be 19 just before Christmas. On the 18th of December, he was going to turn 19. So he got biliary, and we got him through biliary. It was hard, took a month. Poor guy was absolutely horrid. He was really not happy. One of the reasons why I stopped making videos, because he would just sleep on my lap, and I just didn't have the heart to move him, you know. And then the diarrhea started, and we got him through the diarrhea. You know, I think even my poor vet was running out of ideas as to what caused it or how, because we tried everything until eventually we got him through the diarrhea. And shame, by this point he wasn't allowed to sleep in my room anymore because the poor little fellow decided he was going to try and have a poo in bed with me. And as much as I love him, that's where I draw the line, because, you know, there's some things that last forever, and it goes a little bit beyond. So I then turned my library into his bedroom. So I gave him a bed here on my desk with a hot water bottle at night and all sorts of things. And I ended up putting a poopy pad for house training dogs, because that didn't work with my dogs. They were like, hey, chew toy, confetti. And anyway, so I put that out on top. So I had a bit of waterproofing, and then he started with the whittling. And Tygo, who we actually call Tommy, but anyway, he became known as Whittler for a while because he would just whittle everywhere, and the amount of whittle that little kitty cat had inside of him almost matched his body weight. And then I finally found the tumour. Anyway, and then I finally found the tumour, which initially I thought might have been a bit of a blood clot or something, because it was pretty small. It was about the length of the joint of my baby finger, but half the size, and it felt squishy, and I thought it might have been a blood clot. And then I couldn't find it anymore, And that was because it ended up the size of a golf ball. It just like exploded. It was a massive thing. And obviously he was in a lot of pain. And so obviously he was in a lot of pain, and not even a week ago, it was a Monday, well actually it will be a week by the time you see this, I took him to the vet because I don't feel that he should have suffered. I mean, it wasn't comfortable for him to go to the bathroom even. So it's been about 3 months of, oh, this is going to be the end, and no, he's made it. I have been yo-yoing between this and hey, he's still there. We're getting through this. It's going to be alright. Only to have the next one, you know. So, I'm sorry. I never planned to sit and cry on camera. Ever. But there's no way to tell you this without the tears, so I'm sorry. Anyway, so between my current state of full-blown mental exhaustion, but I will say one thing, the little fellow left his mark, because he would sit in the litter tray and then pee out the edge. And if you have a kitty cat, you know that cat pee has a certain level of potency that not even bad cheese can reach, and it lasts a lot longer. And I must admit that the air in this room is just one step short of pea green or mustard gas. Maybe let's put that down to the red eyes. We'll just put it down to the excessive amount of cat ammonia fumes that I've been exposed to. But yeah, so that is a lot to do with why I haven't been here. I mean, I didn't want to upset him. I'd also turned my desk where I have my camera and whatnot now into his bed, and you know, I didn't feel like moving it and rearranging everything and trying to make a video of stuff that I haven't managed to finish reading because 2 pages a day. Oh my god, I need a holiday, man. And the sad thing is that we've only been back for 2 weeks. I mean, granted, it was a 1-week holiday. It's not really a holiday. And to all of you adults out there, okay, what do you mean I get 2 weeks in a year? What do you mean it's a problem? Let's just say 160 children a day and leave it at that. You have 160 children a day that pass through your class. You're entitled to, I don't know, really bad habits, and yeah. Anyway, I'm now getting warnings saying that we are down to low battery, so I'm going to call it quits and give you a video, and I'm really sorry for all the tears. And because I can't add this at any other point, this was going to be used for a blooper reel, but now you're going to get it now. Bye. This is me being upstaged by my kitty cat. Don't knock it off. Okay.